Boy, we've been really looking forward to this day. At least I've been really looking forward to today. Um, and what a privilege it is to be able to just sit down with you like this and have you tell your story, babe. Um,
Yeah.
we have a pretty amazing time right now. We're really looking forward to go to Vegas and we're meeting just amazing people. And I just wanted to sit down with you and let you tell everything just in your words, and where to start, right? That's where that's the question.
Ooh, yeah.
Where to start? But let's just start. Where did you grow up? Where were you originally from?
I was born in Salt Lake. Lived there for all of a matter of months. And largely grew up in Riverton, Utah. Just a huge playground for me, where I developed a lot of my love for nature, animals, earth, imagination, music, art, dance. And then we moved when I was, I believe, 16 to West Valley. I've not lived outside of Utah. And that's where I met you.
Yes. The junior high play. Well, did you grow up with both parents? Tell me a little bit about your family. Your childhood.
Yes, my parents have been married for over 50 years. They are, in some of my toughest moments, who I think of, and two of the strongest human beings that I know. I'm one of 9, so I have 8 siblings, who are all incredibly, I like to call myself the simpleton out of them. They are all so intelligent, highly intelligent, and highly talented, and I feel like I just kind of fell into it. I can't relate to them that way, but it's a very humbling, and I'm very honored to be a part of my family. I have an older brother who has passed on from melanoma cancer, and that's been well over a decade now, but we feel him all the time. In some ways I feel closer to him than when he was here. He's very, very active in all of our lives, and we're so blessed. And I wouldn't be here right now without him, giving me strength from a different place. Yeah.
And what about your childhood? How was your childhood growing up, would you say?
It was stunningly difficult. Again, feeling a little, I struggled sometimes. I think a lot of us do, finding your place. And it's very easy to, when we're young, to slip into the just conforming with life and what's easiest, and especially for someone like me that just wanted to see smiles and comfort and peace, and some people call it people pleaser. I think that's too simple of a term. When you love life so much and you love your humans that are in it so much, you can get lost. And because you're a child, you don't really realize it. You don't really know what to think or do, or what questions to ask, or where to stand up for yourself with your tiny little voice. And especially when you're naturally quiet and you like to take life in, that can get really difficult. And then things are going to happen to all of us. None of us have perfect lives or childhoods. And there's some things that I live with now that won't ever go away. It's you live with it, and you grow from it, and you move past it or you don't. And anything that was very tough for me, I made the decision that I'm going to learn from it, that it won't define me, and it's my responsibility to grow stronger and make something positive. And certainly with anyone that was a part of it, choose to see their whole journey and what brought certain people to certain choices. I think that's so important to breaking that cycle, is if you're not willing to step in their shoes, and this is not for everyone, it's not for every situation, talking specifically about my life and just the idea, putting out the idea that this can be a very healing thing. It's a very thorny path that hurts, but it's brilliant healing balm. As far as on the flip side, I such happiness and joy, and my family's given me strength and love, deep love. They've given me practical lessons, plenty, and some I took for granted and didn't really value until I was this age, or a mother, or a wife, or this sick. And I think above all, you never, ever give up, and that you never stop finding laughter in this life. That's given me air.
We've had our ups and downs and laughter for sure. We've been married how long and how many kids?
We have, I always struggle with this now because our little family has grown. I'm surprised I've kept it together this long. And I'll put this out there. If some of you are thinking just, it's okay to cry, well, it's a little different for me. And I want to put that out there because I will. But if you see me struggling and trying to hold it back, it's not for the reasons you think. And we'll get into this more, but it's very painful for my left eye to to produce a tear and to pass it through is extremely painful. So, but there's certain situations and people that just will bring that out, you know, and touching on my kids and my family is. So we have 4 children. Three I gave birth to, and who are here today. And one I lost at about the 10-week mark, and it's just been over 20 years later. I put him aside because I felt strongly that he was been with me. He's been with me, but I had to put him aside to continue on, you know? It's just been recently that we've felt him very strong, so, and we can get into that more, but we have our beautiful oldest, who is, she's incredibly intelligent, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. She was our first for many reasons. And she brought with her the son. And she's fiercely protective. I feel like our roles have reversed a bit. She's the one checking to see if I'm okay. Something's too loud, something's too... And she's too whatever, you know, and she's brave enough to say it, so... She's my little buddy for... I feel like sometimes it was her and I in Rex, and sometimes her and I against the world, you know? We have Mason, our son, who... Our first view of him, this is before 3D ultrasounds, and, or, you know, you can go get your ultrasounds. Weird to say that because things have changed so quickly, you know? So when we were having our 20-week ultrasound, I immediately seen that I said, he's a little Nielsen, he has your nose, Rex, and that was that first level of falling in love. Actually, second minute I found out he was a boy, it was incredible. But when we had him, and I was holding him, and I said, I'm your mama. And he worked so hard to turn that little neck until we were face to face. And he was just trying so hard to blink, and my heart was gone again. And Mason is a very deep, quiet soul, and so much of me resonated with him. And sometimes where our daughters couldn't understand him, I could. And so I'd hopefully been, you know, a guide for them on how to deal with somebody that has emotions that are very, very deep and surface, and they're just all over the place. And, you know, you need your art, and you need your quiet, and you need your music, and you need, you know, you need solitude. And he's, again, incredibly intelligent, and yeah, Like, there wasn't a minute with him. It just wasn't, you know, I was his, and cutest little shit. He's pretty special. Pretty damn special. Our youngest is Abby. Well, I need to put in there, and we have not said this to anyone. I'm a little bit nervous too. Just yesterday was Christmas, and we revealed the name of our son, who we lost. And that was very sacred to me, and it took a lot of thought, and a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, a lot of time with him. And we thought we had. I talked to Rex a little bit about where I was going with that, and we thought we had it because we have some very important, special souls in our lives, many of you. But it just wasn't, you know, like, no, Mom, that's not it. Keep looking, and I confused. I'm thinking, well, we had an idea, and I thought I had an idea, and I'm not going to choose something crazy. After looking and looking and looking for a span of several, thinking about it, months, weeks, and then days, because I really wanted that before Christmas, and we surprised them by putting his stocking in front of everyone else's, and Rex's middle name is Matthew, and Mason's middle name is Matthew, and we knew that we wanted the name of our sweet, sweet angel of a friend, Christoph, who we've interviewed, and we check on him. We make sure we're in his one man, three hearts. Christoph is, go find him. He is, there's some people that I call floaters, and you're just not quite here and you're not quite there. And that is both beautiful, but it's also can be very hard on the human being that's experiencing that. You don't feel quite, both are pulling, but not enough, right? You're not all here and you're not all there, and I think that's a very sacred place to be, because those are the ones that can raise us up higher, and those are the ones that give us faith and give us a foundation, but also give us reason to float. Christoph, I'm jumping the gun here, and I'm really hoping you're okay with this, because it got busy, but we wanted to ask you, but I also know you're doing a hell of a lot. But I fell upon the name Mario, and I've done my genealogy or my DNA through several different companies, and it's been really fun to see, to find out who I am, you know, in my body, especially as your body's suffering, and you want to connect, and you want to find anyone on this earth or next. To help you understand yourself. And in that journey, there's a hell of a lot of German, Italian, French. A lot made sense. Just right off the bat about how passionate I can be. What was interesting is coming across his name, that name, and my first response, honestly, was hell no. Because we all think, I think, the minute we find a name, right? Well, what is everyone else going to think? And is that going to be difficult for them to say? Or is it going to roll off the tongue? Or is somebody going to make it? And I catch myself and I think, what am I doing this for? Everyone else? Or our son and my husband and our children? And I need to listen to him more than anything else. And it just felt right. And I read it and so we named him DiMatteo, which is a surname for Matthew. And it's how we understand it is how they pronounce it and say it in Germany and Italy. And Christophe is French. I know that Christophe's father is French, and I believe that's very much why they chose to give him that name. So it covered the bases. Was not expecting it, and we were able to keep the name Matthew. So it's DiMatteo Christophe, and our family beautifully accepted that and just, sat with it and understood it and thought it was beautiful. And I was able to look at my son Mace, who for a while was, and I'm only prefacing all this before Abby because it's important. We didn't know at the time that my body could not sustain 4 full-term pregnancies. And after I lost our son, we were expecting Abby soon after. You can imagine that very sacred, turbulent time. As my body was struggling as it was, and we didn't know. And Abby's little body was struggling, and we didn't know. But so many visits and doctors, even if it was the pediatrician we were at, they'd look at me and say, "You look really run down," or "You look very unwell." And it was because I was. I don't know how many infections I got during that pregnancy. I was depleted, and just depleted. Iron dropped, heavily. Sick, and had Abby, and she was stunning. And Abby came with a depth like her brothers and sister, but she had her own understanding of something, and it took a while to know fully how that would play out, but I knew right away that Abby was a peacemaker and a healer. And boy, were we dead on with that. Abby has a very special ability to bring laughter and to watch who and how people need healing. She's extremely mature beyond her years. And also has moments of we used to call them the blonde moments, but it's just happy moments, and she accepts our laughing at her with so much. I think she views that as another way to heal, even though she doesn't it doesn't quite mean to do it. But her and I went through a lot the next year together, and she grew into 1 year old, and her and I and Rex, honestly, I want to touch on Rex because it's important about what I'll talk about later. But I say this often, and I think right now it's so important to say, more important, because of what they deserve in the platform we're on. God knew what I would go through, what Rex would go through, and what we would watch you all go through, which is heavy. And it's part of the reason I think some people just, our numbers are very slow. It's hard to like hard videos. It's easy to like some that are more upbeat and pretty and it sounds good and it looks good. Well, we're not about that business, right? So he knew this path. Long, never easy, stunning, but never easy path we'd be on. And he and they chose, I just cannot, I need to say that I can't imagine them not being with us every step, and they get it more than anyone, and they protect me, and when Rex and I are having tough times, because yes we do, we even do more than bickering, which all of you have heard. But they root us on, you know. And even in their own struggles. And they love you guys fiercely. Mason and Abby, Ellen has seen me healthy. Mason and Abby don't know much difference. They learned very young how to use their little hands to squeeze on trigger points, and that doesn't work anymore, you know, things have gotten worse, but their little hands, it would take 4 little hands to get, they would do anything, and they'd even stand there and start shaking. Their little muscles, but they would do anything to make me better. But I couldn't imagine more beautiful angels. He so carefully chose, and they so graciously agreed. And now we have Ellen, who has Franklin, who just passed nursing school. And Mason, who has Abby, who is just dynamite in the best way. And Abby, who has Jeremy, who is the healing force for her. Our kids, who they've chosen as their life, eternal partners. Yes. Franklin, we touched on Franklin, he is another one of those healers. He is a brilliant nurse. The medical community is exceptionally blessed to have him join wherever he chooses to be. And oftentimes now he gives everyone else a run for their money as far as knowing when something's gone wrong with someone, you know, even the slightest little hint. And he's just full of life and depth and art, and he can't experience life hard enough, fast enough, you know, and that's who our daughter Ellen's partner is. And then Mason and Abby, I'm sure you've seen a post in October. They were married, and Abby is not to be confused with our Abby. Abby is, she's just brilliant as far as how much she lives. She is just life-giving, and she's very forgiving and very, very ready to just, you know, she's that type, let's move on. She asks for the basics in human beings in her life, and she works so hard for her little family. They have our little Indy. I'll touch on her a little bit. And Abby, our youngest, it's her and Jeremy just the year-ish that he's been here in Utah again, moved back to be with Abby, has been, he fits right in so beautifully. He goes right along with, all of them do, our family's sense of humor, and you know, he loves to get in on jokes, he loves to start them, and he's it is so touching to see how proud he is to hit incredible milestones in life for himself, but how beautiful it is that he considers Abby in every one of those successes. And he equally, if not more, wants to make sure she's taken care of, and he's worked so hard to be that. He's we can't wait to see what he chooses in life. What resonates with him the most, where he wants to go and what he wants to do and be, while he's firmly grasping our daughter's hand. And such a joy. We're so grateful for who they've all carefully chose and who they know that they were worth, and vice versa. And
yeah,
we couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
And then in our new family photo, I think some of you even asked, who's this, and you guys know we talk about Julie all the time. We've been friends with her for so many years, and then we've lived in the same home. She lives in kind of a studio here, and she's just family, and she's family to our family and to my family and Rex's family, and we are to hers, and it's been a beautiful relationship, and we wouldn't have it any other way with both her and Azzy, who is just been such a beautiful addition. And was introduced to us by our youngest Abby, who just adores her, and you know when you know, it just, a soul comes in your life and you just feel like you belong and you need to be here, and when they are saying I want to be, it's just, I think I learned that most from my grandparents on my mom's side, they didn't, their measure of a human being was often not the norm. And they weren't afraid to look into somebody's eyes and find your soul and look past whatever state you were in, wherever you were at the time, whether you were dirt poor on the streets or highly successful, it was the same. You were human and you mattered and you were loved. And so that will lead me right into our little toots. I'm sure Rex will tear up behind the camera right now.
My buddy. We're buddies.
She is 2-year-old little, not little, tiny little giant who seems to know herself. There's so many questions around her, in that discovering her, sometimes she looks at you like, I'm glad you found out, or I'm glad you know now. You know, it's just this wisdom, but yet she's a tiny little actress. No human being, I've not seen it yet, I don't think. No human being worries her, scares her, meaning she will have a conversation, she will look at you, you matter. She values you, she values her circle, just is ever expanding and it never ends. And she too is a healer, and although she was a little bit unexpected, I now look at her and I wonder, someone knew she was expected. And she came at a critical time in my health. There's been a handful of times where I lived for that little tiny human. And I fought for her, for nothing else, for her. And somehow she knows that Meme is either not feeling good, she knows when to be quiet, she knows when to shout with joy, she knows when that's okay. She knows to look for owies on me. And she knows in the middle of a large crowd and a lot of laughter to stop and pick up my face and hold my chin and say, "You okay, Mimi?" Not once, but 2 or 3 times. And she'll be playing wildly, and then all of a sudden, holding my chin with both her hands, and she'll get me right where she needs me, which is up close and personal, and she'll, when I'm right there and she knows I'm there and we're connecting really deep, and she just kind of, her new thing is to kind of lay next to me and put her hands like this, and we just have a conversation. And I'm like, "You're 2. What's happening?" And we have an angel here. And her favorite thing in the world is when her families are all in one place. And so
Her mom takes after her mom a lot.
Yeah.
Abby's.
And then she has these moments where it's like, "You are Mason. these little things that so we're going to do more and more, hopefully, with all who matter to her, all her grandpas and all her grandmas and all her aunts and uncles, and because her people are life to her. But she doesn't even understand how many of us she's saved in so many ways. And we can't wait for more. To the rest of our years.
Well, and Abby Mason's Abby as well. They just barely finished up with the
Finished up with what?
a wedding.
Yeah, I said a lot of you would have seen kind of the post on October 5th. Did I just get that right? You guys, I just had a panic moment. Because I know any of you in a chronic state understand dates stink. Because we look like we don't care, and that's not true. But it was such a beautiful day, and it was a day that I was extremely blessed to, number one, be able to show up at. I would have been there no matter what. I don't care if I had to bring a mattress, a blow-up mattress, and be there for my son and Abby. But I was able to go from morning till night and days before that of preparing. And I was able to go all day and dance at night, and a lot of you seen that. That's a lot. As a matter of fact, the whole day is one of the videos on our YouTube channel. Subscribe.
Well, and it's just full of so much art. It reminds me a lot of your art, and many people know that you're an artist. Can you talk a little bit about what your art experience was, and maybe even a little bit about some of your recent art?
My art experience, going back how far? Well, my soul has not known any different. Number one, every chance I could get, everything I looked at, everything I experienced, I was trying to see how it could be different, or how it could beautify, or how it could serve better, or how it could, And over the years, I've tried my hand at a lot of different art techniques and tools, and I was able to get a scholarship from a well-known artist here in Utah who has painted a lot of the LDS temples, and that was an honor. That was my last year in high school. That I received off of pottery, and lucky enough for me, and pottery and a tile painting that was 5 foot, 4 foot by 5 foot, I think, that the school actually bought from me and hung in there. I don't know if it's still hanging in my high school or not, but the school bought it from me and hung it in the high school. And lucky enough, people saw that while I wasn't doing pottery on the wheel as much, I really loved the hand. I really loved doing it slowly and by hand, and my hand creating something, and it wasn't ever attached to the wheel, and that takes a lot of skill on its own. So I was always in awe in those that were better at me than that. And I had an amazing teacher that pushed me, and a lot of support from other classes in our high school, which helped build quite a massive frame. I believe that one was 4 foot, and it had 6 sides. And so the carpentry class was able to kind of use that as one of their projects. You know, and it started as a small base and went out quite huge. And if you can imagine that weight at the top, you've got to really kind of have a great mold, and then your product needs to hold when that mold comes off. I believe my art teacher bought that.
We were talking about the art piece that you had up in the high school.
Yeah, I had several that were in contests or art shows. There's 3. And yeah, it's talking about how it was great to have different teachers and classes involved. And I was very fortunate that my art was appreciated as different. My 6-sided, 4-foot-tall pot was able to go to an art show here in Springville, Utah, and then another pot that I had made that had right in the middle of it etched glass, so you could see in the middle of the pot, and that one was quite large and had a lid, and it was more functional though, and that was able to go to the art show as well. But that went on to an art contest. Well, it wasn't a contest, it was more of a show at our mall, and I think that happens, you know, all over here in America, where they showcase, you know. Our daughter had some of her photography showcased the same way. Only this one with me, there was people that saw that was able to bid on the piece, and the highest bidder won, and they were able to buy it. And they would give you ribbons on whether it was a piece that was sold at a good price, and that's where the scholarship was given away. And to my surprise, when we went and checked on it, it had a few ribbons next to it, and somebody bought it, and they bought it for a decent price. And then I had not first place and then grand prize, and that's where I got my art scholarship, and I was able to meet one of the greatest artists in the LDS community. And that was really neat to meet the person that was giving their money to support you. And unfortunately that didn't work out, and then life happens. You get busy, become a wife and a mom, and there's a long pause for quite some years. I wasn't doing art, and that's unfortunate, because that was again another. It's one of those things that gives you air that's it's for your soul. And too often we give up because of how busy we are, what we really need to be the best humans we can for the people that we're working for. So pause, think about what you really need, who you really are, and if you're not, because if you're not, get back to it. I'll quickly touch on years later, I just missed it. And thinking of that missed opportunity to go to school with money, and now dealing with an illness, and at this time we didn't quite know what it was. I decided online school was the best, and Penn Foster I couldn't rave enough about. And so I was able to get my comprehensive art career degree, and that took you through all types of art. You know, acrylic, oil, pencil, chalk, perspective, mixed media, the whole thing. And I was so proud of myself to average an A in everything, and it gave me that drive, you know, that little push that I really needed. I think with that I was kind of testing, like, you know, is this something that I really, really need and love? And the answer was a resounding yes, and I'm so proud of that certificate.
Absolutely.
It is not a degree, and some people like to point that out to me, and I don't care. We put too much emphasis on degrees, I think, and thinking that others don't know as much. That's a mistake. I chose that for a reason. I knew what my health was doing. And it may not have been for the reasons that other people are doing it. I knew that that wasn't going to likely become any career. And I've had people over the years ask me if I can paint or draw, or even, I love interior decoration as well. And it's been such a humbling honor that they would trust me. It's very difficult for me because I do not do requests. When I do my art, I always start with a very basic idea, and then I let myself go. I love that process. I love the process of not knowing how something will end up, not knowing how long it will take, and also pushing myself to prove that there's no mistakes in art. So one of my favorite things to do is pen on paper, no pencil, and so that you're not tempted to use the eraser, right? So because I'm kind of feel so free that way, it's hard to explain to others. Well, if I did, you wouldn't be really involved too much, because when I start receiving that information, it kind of shuts down my creative. And other people can do it brilliantly. They can take your ideas and they can work with you, and they can just be like, I'm going to execute. And I respect them so much. It's just not how I do things. And then the most amazing time in my life that I've had as far as art is since we've started Spoonful.
There's two things that come to mind that I think is most well known when people think about you and being an artist, and that would be our home and Spoonful's logo. Do you want to talk about those two things a little bit?
Sure. I'm trying to remember I know that we've touched on it on some lives. Rex, over the years, and especially as I've not been well, I wouldn't be able to do it, number one, without him. I say, hey, this is what I need, or this is what I want, and that changes, right? So he's been on board, sometimes reluctantly, because it's it can be a lot when I tell someone what's in my head, my vision, and they're just, are you, what? You know, and a lot of it is I push limits. I have never, not that this is wrong, not that this actually helps most people, to have color schemes or what's in fashion or what's on trend, or I've never resonated with that. I've always been but I'll decide what colors are on trend in my home and with me and with my family, and I don't play by a lot of rules. So it's can be, if you can imagine, a lot of Rex, just, we've learned over the years, he's like, give me sound bites, and then when it's happening, as it's happening, we'll talk in more detail. Don't give me your novel at first, or else I'm going to go cry in the fetal position. No. So I think we've touched on this again, just because of the nature of your seeing where we are, and I know that there's been questions about what's over there, what's on that wall, and I adore pushing limits. I adore it when somebody comes in and is like, that's different, or explain to me why you chose this wallpaper, or sometimes they come in and they're just, how did you come up with this? I love anything like that. But you guys have been in this room very often. This is my room, and I'm sure a lot of you would be like, my room? You're married. Yes, happily. I know that's hard to hear, Justin Furstenfeld, but I am married. Anybody that knows this knows I'm going to throw that in. You'll just have to look him up. If you're smart enough, you'll listen. But we came to a point where I was, my body was really struggling so much, and Rex needs his sleep. He works full time on top of being my legal caretaker. Now, I hope that he feels like I'm not too hard of a patient, but I guess it depends on the day, or how hard insurance is making it, or on and on. But so he needs his sleep. I don't. I need it, but I don't get it. And so when I am not sleeping and I'm in pain, I choose, what comforts me the most is choosing to watch. It's usually others that have other conditions, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok, or Instagram, whatever. It's usually YouTube. I feel like I can follow their journey on a deeper level, and I've really, really, really been blessed and have benefited by those people. So, but that's noise and light at night, and he does not need that. And on top of that, I prefer, so my condition causes extreme temperature changes, usually heat. So much so that it's been said to me that I can, they could feel the heat radiating from me walking by. And I don't doubt that for a second, based on what I'm feeling. And then when that's going on, when it's an actual flare-up and it's not, my body's not reacting to the room being too warm, or like any other human, it's coming from the inside and pushing out. And so not much is going to calm it down, other than it calming itself down. But we sure try. And often I'll have the door to my balcony in my room open, and it has been open in winter, and it has been open even during little blizzards, I call it. You're from Utah when you say a little blizzard. But 40s in the home. I know that sounds cruel, but I also make sure that they have their heaters that Julie and Rex do, wherever I am not just, and oftentimes I'll raise it because I just can't, but that will be, my body reacts instantly to even the slightest. I could put a warm finger right here on my head where it's kind of all started, and that will trigger a full flare up. So Rex has his own room. He's always welcome in here, but this is largely my room. And so since we've really taken Rex's room, and it's been fun for him too. It's kind of
like
his,
my office.
yeah, and your little man cave, because
I'm a drum set in there.
Yeah. So he got to choose his colors, his art, and that was so fun to see. And it's also, I think, healthy for couples to have a space where they can go and be themselves and do whatever they need separate from, and Rex separate from me, so that he comes back to me the healthiest Rex possible, and myself as well. And I think it's important for me to have my own space, because it is brutal. It's another level of suffering to see your loved ones suffer with you, but they cannot help you. There isn't, and it's at the point where Rex doesn't often even know, can I help give you, can I help with gently touching your head or your hair? And oftentimes, no, I cannot be touched. It's hard enough just to rock back and forth, and I'm just breathing, and that's hard to watch them go through. And so it may seem like to a lot of people, and we'll touch on this some more, that I am pushing you away. And maybe I am, but it is because it's another level of brutality of what we live with, and
but the art helps through all that, right? I mean,
yes,
the art of the home, and
yeah. So my room, throughout the home, it's important, but because I'm in here. Ooh, shoot, 70-80% of my life for the past, I don't know, I forget how many years anymore, but I think often, I look at the same things, hundreds of times a day. Your eyes are going, and so often you'll focus, you're hyper focus on something, and you're doing that so that that's a coping skill, and it's helping, even in the smallest degree, helping you get through something. And so everything, I needed the most peaceful colors. I needed very deep kind of comfort colors, but also very light. Just kind of feeling like if I look at that color, I can breathe, and I can imagine feeling lighter. And that one, it's those, it very carefully chose colors, and it's something I'm not afraid of, but I also love muted. It's just all over the place, but it works out beautifully. Yes, I have a canopy over our bed. And people in our life have been like, what do they call it? It's like being a cabana. Yes, there's lights over our bed, and yes, there's macrame in the front of the cabin. And yes, it's extra. Yes. But it's my world. I don't get to travel. It's hard for me to travel to another city. And the other places in the home, especially the main level, where we have any visitors, which is too rare right now, but our children, that is my next priority. So yes, it's important. It's important, and it's one of the things that we want to touch on as far as Spoonful. But You asked about Spoonful's art or the logo.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Spoonful, when I say that, it's important for people to know that I don't say it and think of a name. I don't say it and think of I don't largely think of a company unless Rex and I are talking about the company. Behind the scenes. When I say it, I immediately think of these beautiful faces, these beautiful souls that we've met, and it's a family. It's to me, it's like the name of our family,
Mm-hmm.
of our suffering family, and so much like Spoonful, when that was on my heart for years, in my thoughts, in my dreams, and it just kept getting more prevalent and pushed forward, and then it became very, very apparent that God, for me, was saying, I need them found. I need them to know they're loved. And the more I watched you guys very quietly, very often, and I want to say this. If you're someone that I'm invested in, I'm invested. I usually will go back a year and watch everything you put out there so that I feel like I already know you the first time I talk to you. So as I really got to know a lot of you, and I really started to understand why did you need me? Why do you need me to do this? Why is it so important? Why shouldn't everybody feel like they're found? Why shouldn't everybody have a light cast upon them? Well, this is a problem we have in our country and our world, and it is, we like gratification, beautiful things, beautiful people. We like love and happiness and peace and laughter, and those are all can be beautiful and great things, but when you're doing it, not having the strength or the even desire to look at the opposite, there's a problem, and we have a problem. And I started realizing why he was so specific. We're trying to get to people before they die alone, trying to get to people before they choose, they make a devastating and final decision. And so Spoonful's logo, much like the thought of the whole mission, the whole reason, just started coming to me, and it was just floated around up there, and I kind of it's not just Spoonful. Our name is Spoonful of Sugar. It's important to say this is, and again, this is why some people don't want to. It's like I can't deal with that. It's too much, and it is. And so it's never an easy answer. No matter what I talk about with serious, debilitating, rare or complicated suffering, you cannot talk about it without going very, very deep, going deeper than you could have imagined, and then going to some very painful places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at first it just is, how the hell do I cover it? What do I even start with? What do I, and I know a lot of people we interview, we know that we could talk to you for hours, and you honestly deserve that. if there wasn't a couple billion people that need that too, and my own suffering. So we're dealing with that, right? We're dealing with Rex has his own. Rex really represents those that have any mental challenges at all, which is why it was so important to say chronic pain and suffering. But it's just even telling your point of view and your story. We get to spend hours. And so that was hard. And that's, as you're suffering, you're thinking of getting to the next hour or even minute.